Welcome in at the K0LWC Ham Shack. Today we're talking about the Icom 7300, one of the most popular radios on the bands, and microphones. Hotly debated, really good topic. Let's get into it. Now, maybe you just bought the Icom 7300 and you're wondering, is this little HM219 hand mic really that good? I mean, come on, it's like super tiny. Can it really sound great on the air? Well, the answer is yes. A lot of people think that the stock hand mics really can't be that good. You need something like this for this radio to sound great. That's not the case at all. The stock hand mic sounds phenomenal with this radio. Unless you really have a need for contesting or another reason where you want two hands free while operating and you don't mind holding a hand mic, this is phenomenal. You need nothing else. I mean, Icom did engineer this microphone to work with this radio beautifully, right? Yes. So that begs the question, why would you want to get rid of the stock hand mic? Well, in my case, I really don't want to wear a headset every time I operate, and I also want to have both hands free for my computer while operating at the radio. So I want to get a boom mic like the one you see behind me. Now, what I have here is a Heil PR781, and that's what we're going to cover in this video today is things you should know about the Heil PR781 or using really any dynamic element microphone on the Icom 7300, because there are some things you need to know. First, we have to talk about what kind of microphone element is inside the stock hand mic here from the 7300's HM219. What's in here is known as an electret condenser microphone. If you've never heard of that, they're everywhere. Webcams, HT radios, your cell phone, all electret condenser microphone elements. They're really great. It used to be that to get a really great sound, you got to have a big studio microphone with a dynamic element that looks like what's behind me here. But actually, electret condenser microphones have really come a long way, and they really do sound great. But there are a few drawbacks. Now, in the case of the Heil PR781 that you see behind me, that is what's known as a dynamic element microphone. So you may be wondering, well, what's the difference? A dynamic element inside the microphone actually has about minus 20 dB less output compared to a normal condenser mic. What that means is because the Icom 7300 was engineered to work with an electret condenser microphone and not a dynamic, that 20 decibel difference, it means that the preamp inside the radio is not designed to work with a dynamic element microphone. So that may be, oh wait, you're like, wait, does it actually work then? Can I put a dynamic element mic on the 7300? The answer is yes, you can. But there are some important caveats that you should know. Because of that 20 decibel difference, the one thing that will not work properly on most every single dynamic mic on the 7300 with no other outboard preamp put on is the VOX. The VOX will not trigger properly because there is not enough drive out of the radio to make the mic sensitive enough. So if you really want to use VOX, make sure that you're putting some kind of outboard preamp on your dynamic mic with the 7300, or just go ahead and get a condenser mic right from the jump. So you may be wondering, well, then why doesn't everybody just go with a condenser mic? Well, there are some drawbacks. On a condenser microphone, you have the propensity to be a lot more sensitive. What that means is you typically pick up more background noise. So maybe you have a noisy amplifier, maybe you are out in the open, you don't have a closed room where you can operate in a relatively quiet environment. Condenser mics are more prone to pick up background noise. People will say they hear the fan from your amplifier, they hear your kids screaming in the background. Dynamic microphones like this have much better rejection off the sides and from behind the microphone, and that's one advantage to using a dynamic element mic. The next thing is, to my eyes, the Heil PR781 compared to the ICM, it just looks cooler, let's be honest. Again, as a former radio guy that used to work in broadcast radio, there's nothing like a nice boom microphone. It just looks sleek and slick, looks much better than what I would call kind of a stage microphone like the Heil ICM. And if you're enjoying this video so far and find it informational, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Now, when you're putting on that dynamic mic onto your 7300 with no other outboard EQ or preamp, here are some other things that you should know in terms of operating procedure that will help get the most out of your microphone. Now, some of you have seen my other video about setting up pilot busting audio on the 7300 with the stock hand mic. Well, we're in a whole different ballgame with the dynamic mic. Remember, that difference in dB is going to make a massive difference in how we set the radio. So you'll see I have the mic gain set at 75%, which is much higher than you run the stock hand mic. Most 7300 owners know the best mic gain settings for the hand mic are between 25 and 50%, depending on your voice, never higher than 50. But again, dynamic element, 75, it could be between 70 and 90% mic gain that you need to really drive this mic properly with your voice. Also, on the hand mic, I would run my compression around a 1 to a 3. Now I have it set for 5 on most days because I just need a little bit more help driving the microphone with that compressor. But let's go ahead and give it a listen and see what it sounds like.
K0LWC is this frequency in use? All right, this is my stock audio setting that I run for most Ragchews. It is a mic gain of 75%, a compression setting of 5, and my TX bass and TX treble are both at a +5, and I'm on the wide bandwidth audio setting. So this is my everyday audio setting here on the 7300, K0LWC.
Boy, does that really sound phenomenal. Now, take a look at this contact that I recently made busing a huge pileup during the North American QSO party to Hawaii. Give it a look.
Illinois, thank you and aloha. QRZNAQP from King Henry 6, Canada, Japan.
Kilo Zero Lima Whiskey Charlie.
Is there a zero, please?
Kilo Zero Lima Whiskey Charlie. Kilo Zero Lima Whiskey Charlie. Kilo Zero Lima Whiskey Charlie. QSL, Ken, please copy Matt in Minnesota. Mike Alpha Tango Tango. Matt in Minnesota. QSL.
Okay, Matt, that's you in Minnesota. Thank you and aloha.
Yes. Man, that was an awesome contact, but I didn't have these same audio settings. When you're busting pileups, you have to adjust your audio. Here is what I do on the PR781. I'm going to turn my compression up to a 9. I'm going to leave my mic gain where it is set. I'm going to go into settings. I'm going to go into tone control. I'm going to go into TX, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the bass almost all the way down. We're going to go to -4 on the bass. Once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and flip over here to the function menu, and I'm going to set my transmit bandwidth to mid. Once I do that, I am ready to bust that pileup. Let's go ahead and give it a listen.
K0LWC. This is my DX pileup busting audio. You'll notice that it sounds vastly different because all of those, bassy tones are gone and just a lot of sharp, trebly highs are left. This is a perfect setting for busting through that pileup and also, of course, switching up your cadence. You'll notice on the Hawaii concert, I waited about a half a second before I started calling, so I'd be the last thing that he heard. And guess what? It worked. So again, this is my DX pileup busting audio. K0LWC.
Boy, does that also sound really phenomenal. So again, I have my Ragchew audio and my DX pileup busting audio. But the other thing you have to keep in mind is to drive this mic properly, you have to get pretty close to it. How close? Well, let me show you. Now, to drive this mic properly, you really have to be about 1.5 to 2 inches away, speaking directly down the barrel of the microphone. Now, many people think with a mic like this, and this is coming from someone that worked in broadcast radio, that you can just hold this mic and kind of just keep it around and talk, and it's going to pick it up and it's going to sound really good. But you're not going to drive that element properly unless you're right up on the microphone, because again, you already are lacking drive from the radio. You really have to get your voice right down the barrel of the microphone. So let me just show you what a difference it makes in terms of proper positioning with the microphone.
All right, so let's start about the right distance from the microphone, about 1.5 to 2 inches. But as soon as we start to back away from this dynamic element, it really gets to be tough in getting a good sound from it, especially if you start pivoting off axis. Maybe you want to look at your computer screen over here, look at your logbook. You think it's going to pick you up. You really have to be in that 1.5 inches to 2 inches going directly down the barrel to get a great sound from the PR781 on the 7300.
So that begs the question. Would I recommend the Heil PR781? Absolutely. It sounds phenomenal on the Icom 7300, although I think it's almost impossible to make the Icom 7300 sound bad. It's one of the best sounding radios on the market, period. Pretty much no matter what you hook up to it, it really is a phenomenally engineered radio from an audio perspective. Just keep in mind, 1.5 to 2 inches away from the microphone, talking straight down the barrel, 70 to 90% mic gain. up your compression to between a 4 and a 6, depending on your voice, and talk at a normal tone. Don't scream into the microphone. That's not needed. And you'll have a great sounding 781. And now, for me, I'll probably put on a preamp externally. It won't be an EQ, but just a 20 dB preamp on this microphone, just so that way I don't have to drive the radio so hard. I'll make a future video about that when that happens. But no, I love it. It looks great. It sounds great. I get unsolicited, awesome audio reports all the time. And again, the 7300, you just can't make it sound bad. So absolutely, I recommend the Heil PR781. If you want to buy one, there's a link down low in the description below this video. Go check it out for yourself. If you haven't already, subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you again next time.